Commander HFY stood before the massive holographic display aboard the flagship Eternal Dominion, watching as the star charts updated with their latest conquest. Another system had fallen. Another species had been reduced to ash and memory. The Korthak Empire's expansion continued without pause, just as it had for the past 3,000 years. "Status report," HFY commanded, his four arms crossed behind his back. The bridge crew of various conquered species worked silently at their stations, their faces bearing the blank expressions of the chemically subdued. "Fleet Admiral," came the response from Navigation Officer Yilnara, a former member of the Zelanti race before their home world became another crater in space. "We have completed resource extraction from the Helio system. 14 billion souls processed. Raw materials are being loaded onto the cargo vessels." HFY nodded with satisfaction. 14 billion was a respectable number, though not their largest harvest. The Centauri system had yielded nearly 30 billion before they exhausted the population. Each conquered race added to the Empire's strength, their biological and technological distinctiveness absorbed into the collective war machine. "What is our next target?" HFY asked, turning his attention to the tactical display. Communications Officer Drellmore, once a proud warrior of the Thanagarian Republic before it ceased to exist, manipulated the holographic interface. A new star system appeared, highlighted in the familiar red of a marked target. "System designation Sol 3, Fleet Admiral. Intelligence reports indicate a young species calling themselves humans. They appear to have achieved basic space travel, but remain confined to their home system. Population estimates suggest approximately 8 billion individuals." HFY examined the tactical data flowing across his personal display. The humans seemed remarkably unremarkable. No energy shields protecting their planet, no orbital defense platforms, no fleet of warships patrolling their system borders. They had a few space stations, some primitive mining operations on nearby celestial bodies, and what appeared to be early attempts at interplanetary colonization. "Have they detected our scout probes?" HFY inquired. "Negative, Fleet Admiral. Their sensor technology is approximately 1,500 years behind our current capabilities. They remain unaware of our presence in their outer system." This was standard procedure for the Korthak Empire. Send unmarked scout vessels to observe potential targets for months or even years before the main fleet arrived. Study their defenses, their technology, their population centers. The Empire had perfected the art of conquest through overwhelming force applied at precisely the right moment. "Their military capabilities?" HFY asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. Science Officer Quexenol, formerly of the highly advanced Ethereal Collective, before their transcendence was violently interrupted, pulled up the relevant data. "Primitive kinetic weapons, chemical explosives, some basic energy weapons that appear to be in experimental stages. Their most powerful weapons seem to be fusion-based devices, though they possess relatively few of them." HFY almost laughed. Fusion weapons. The Korthak Empire had moved beyond such crude instruments of war millennia ago. Their current arsenal included reality-bending quantum disruptors, planet-cracking antimatter cannons, and stellar manipulation technology that could turn a star into a weapon. "How long until the main fleet arrives?" he asked. 47 standard days, Fleet Admiral," came the immediate response from the navigation console. "Excellent. Continue monitoring their activities. I want complete data on their population centers, resource deposits, and any technology that might prove useful to the Empire." The bridge fell silent except for the subtle humming of advanced machinery and the occasional beep of monitoring systems. HFY returned his attention to the holographic display showing Earth in all its blue and green vulnerability. Another world, another species, another routine conquest for the Empire's endless hunger. But something nagged at him as he studied the data. The humans seemed almost familiar somehow. Their evolutionary pattern, their technological development, even their social structures bore striking resemblances to dozens of other species the Empire had encountered. Yet there was something different here, something he couldn't quite identify. "Fleet Admiral," Communications Officer Drellmore called out, interrupting his thoughts. "We are receiving an unusual transmission from the Sol system." "Unusual how?" "It appears to be directed toward our scout ships, specifically, sir. The humans they are attempting to communicate with us." Zexhai felt a chill run down his spine. In 3,000 years of conquest, no species had ever detected their scouts during the observation phase. The technology gap was always too vast, yet somehow these primitive humans had not only detected the nearly invisible reconnaissance vessels, but had determined they were artificial constructs and attempted communication. "Put the transmission through the universal translators," Zexhai ordered, moving closer to the central display. The bridge speakers crackled to life, and a voice began speaking in what the translators rendered as clear galactic standard. The voice was calm, measured, and carried an undertone that Zexhai had never heard from any of their previous targets: confidence. "To the vessels observing our system from beyond Neptune's orbit, we know you are there. We have been tracking your movements for the past 6 months through gravitational displacement and quantum signature analysis. We understand you are likely conducting reconnaissance before a larger force arrives. We wish to communicate." The bridge fell completely silent. Even the ambient machinery seemed to quiet as every crew member processed what they had just heard. 6 months. The humans had been tracking them for 6 months, using technology that shouldn't exist in their civilization for at least another millennium. "Continue the transmission," Zexhai commanded, his voice tight with tension. "We are not naive about your intentions," the human voice continued. "Our analysis of your technology suggests a species or collective with significant military capabilities. We have observed similar patterns in our galaxy's history through deep space archaeology and quantum echo analysis. We understand what happens to civilizations that fail to adequately prepare for such encounters." Zexahai's 4 hands clenched into fists. Quantum echo analysis was theoretical even for the Korthak Empire's most advanced scientists. How could these humans not only understand such concepts, but actively employ them? However, we believe there has been a fundamental miscalculation in your assessment of our species. We would like to propose a direct dialogue before any irreversible decisions are made. We can be reached on the following quantum frequencies. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Zexhai stared at the display showing Earth, trying to process what he had just heard. This was unprecedented. No species had ever detected their scouts. No species had ever demonstrated technology centuries beyond their apparent development level. No species had ever spoken to them with such calm certainty in the face of overwhelming force. "Science Officer Quex Knoll," Zexhai called out, his voice carefully controlled, "I want a complete review of our intelligence on the human species. Everything. Population data, technological assessments, historical development, biological analysis. I want to know how we missed capabilities like quantum echo analysis and gravitational displacement tracking." "Yes, Fleet Admiral. Beginning comprehensive review now." "Communications. Prepare a response. Use the quantum frequencies they provided. I want to know exactly what they think they know about us." As the bridge crew scrambled to follow his orders, Zexhai found himself studying the blue and green world on the display with new eyes. For 3,000 years, conquest had been a simple formula: arrive, overwhelm, absorb. The Empire had never encountered serious resistance because they chose their targets carefully, always ensuring massive technological and numerical superiority. But these humans had just demonstrated capabilities that shouldn't exist. Worse, they had done so while maintaining the appearance of a primitive, vulnerable civilization. Either the Empire's intelligence gathering had suffered a catastrophic failure, or there was something fundamentally different about humanity. 20 minutes later, Science Officer Quexenol approached with his preliminary findings. His pale blue skin had taken on a distinctly darker hue, indicating stress among his former species. Fleet Admiral, the intelligence review has revealed several concerning anomalies. Our scout ships have been observing human development for over 6 months, but the data suggests rapid technological advancement beyond normal parameters. Explain. 6 months ago, their most advanced space-based technology appeared to be primitive chemical rockets and basic orbital stations. Today, we have confirmed quantum communication networks between their colonies, gravitational field manipulation for spacecraft propulsion, and what appears to be early-stage matter conversion technology. Zexhai felt his secondary hearts beginning to beat faster. 6 months? They developed technology spanning centuries of advancement in 6 months? It appears so, sir. However, there is another possibility. Our cultural analysis subroutines have identified patterns suggesting these technologies may have existed in hidden form for much longer. The humans appear to practice deliberate technological concealment on a species-wide level. The implications hit Zexhai like a plasma blast to the chest. Species-wide technological concealment meant planning. It meant preparation. It meant they had been expecting this day to arrive. Fleet Admiral, Communications Officer Drellmore called out urgently. We are receiving a response to our communication attempt. The humans are requesting a real-time conference using quantum entanglement communication. Real-time quantum entanglement communication across interstellar distances. Zexhai closed his eyes and tried to maintain his composure. The Korthak Empire had achieved such technology only 800 years ago, and it was still considered among their most advanced capabilities. Accept the communication, he commanded. Put it on the main display. The holographic projector shimmered and resolved into the image of a human. The being appeared remarkably similar to several species the Empire had previously conquered, though with subtle differences. The human was elderly by their species' standards, with silver hair and deep lines around intelligent brown eyes. He wore simple clothing, but behind him was visible technology that made Zexhai's breath catch in his throat. Greetings, the human said, his voice carrying the same calm confidence as the previous transmission. I am Dr. Elena Chen, representing the United Earth Defense Council. Thank you for accepting our communication request. Zexhai stepped forward, drawing himself up to his full 3-meter height. I am Fleet Admiral Zexhai of the Korthak Empire's 3rd Conquest Fleet. You have demonstrated capabilities that were not apparent in our intelligence gathering. Explain. Dr. Chen smiled, and something in that expression made Zexhai deeply uncomfortable. It was the smile of someone holding superior cards in a high-stakes game. Fleet Admiral, your empire has been conducting expansion operations in this galaxy for approximately 3,000 of your years. In that time, you have conquered over 4,000 civilizations and absorbed their populations into your collective. Your pattern is always the same. Observe, overwhelm, absorb. You appear to be well informed about our operations, Zexhai said carefully. We have had considerable time to study your methods. You see, Fleet Admiral, you are not the first conquest fleet to visit our system. The previous fleet arrived 112 years ago. The blood in Zexhai's veins turned to ice. That was impossible. The Empire's records showed no previous contact with the Sol system. No fleet had been dispatched to this region of space until now. That is incorrect, Zexhai stated firmly. Our records show no previous contact with your species. Dr. Chen's smile widened slightly. Of course they don't. Because that fleet never reported back to the Empire. They never had the opportunity. Behind Dr. Chen, the view shifted slightly, and Zexhai found himself looking at what appeared to be a massive space-based facility. The architecture was clearly Korthak in origin, but it had been extensively modified with technology he didn't recognize. Floating in the background were ships, Korthak ships, dozens of them. "We learned a great deal from our previous visitors," Dr. Chen continued, "about your technology, your methods, your culture, and most importantly about your weaknesses. Humanity has spent the last century preparing for your return." Zexhai's mind reeled. An entire conquest fleet had disappeared without a trace over a century ago, and the Empire had never known. These humans had somehow not only defeated a full Korthak war fleet, but had captured their technology and reverse-engineered it. "You see, Fleet Admiral, there is something you should understand about humanity. We are a species that learns from conflict. Every war, every battle, every defeat teaches us something new, and we never forget the lessons." Dr. Chen paused, letting the weight of his words settle over the bridge. 112 years ago, we were exactly what your intelligence reports suggested. A primitive species confined to a single world, armed with crude weapons and divided by internal conflicts. When your previous fleet arrived, we were utterly unprepared for true interstellar warfare. The human's expression grew more serious. "The first attack vaporized most of our orbital infrastructure and killed approximately 2 billion people in the opening hour. By any reasonable standard, it should have been over immediately. Your fleet commanders certainly believed it was." Zexhai found himself leaning forward despite his attempts to maintain composure. "But humanity has a peculiar trait, Fleet Admiral. When faced with extinction, we don't surrender. We adapt. The survivors of that first assault had learned something crucial. We were not alone in the universe, and we were not safe. Everything changed in that moment." Dr. Chen touched something outside the view of the communication system, and the background display changed. Now, Zexhai was looking at what appeared to be a massive industrial complex floating in space, clearly built from modified Korthak technology, but incorporating innovations he had never seen before. "Your previous fleet made a critical error," Dr. Chen continued. "They assumed that eliminating our orbital defenses and major population centers would end our resistance. They were wrong. The survivors retreated underground, into our ocean depths, and into the far reaches of our system. And we began to learn. Every piece of debris from your ships, every quantum signature from your weapons, every fragment of your technology became a lesson in galactic warfare. We reverse-engineered quantum displacement drives, antimatter containment systems, reality phase weapons, and consciousness transfer technology. But more importantly, we learned how you think." Zexhai realized his hands were trembling slightly. This conversation had moved far beyond anything in his experience or training. "It took us 17 years to mount an effective counterattack," Dr. Chen said matter-of-factly. "Your fleet was conducting mop-up operations, eliminating the final pockets of human resistance and beginning full resource extraction. They never expected organized resistance from what they considered a broken species. The first phase involved quantum-encrypted electromagnetic pulse weapons that disabled your ship's primary systems without destroying them. The second phase used modified consciousness transfer technology to extract information from your crew members. The third phase was the capture and reverse engineering of your entire fleet. The implications were staggering. An entire conquest fleet, captured and analyzed. Decades of study and preparation. The apparent primitive status of humanity as an elaborate deception. By the time we finished our analysis, Dr. Chen continued, we understood not just your technology, but your entire strategic doctrine. We knew you would return eventually. We knew you would send scout ships first. We knew exactly what to expect because we had captured your complete tactical database from the previous fleet. Zexhai finally found his voice. "What do you want?" "That depends entirely on you, Fleet Admiral. We could allow your current fleet to approach Earth, engage you in conventional warfare, and capture your ships just as we captured the previous fleet. Based on our analysis, we estimate a 93% probability of success using the weapons and strategies we've developed. Dr. Chen paused, letting that sink in. Or we could propose an alternative arrangement. What kind of alternative? The Korthak Empire has been expanding through conquest for 3 millennia. You've absorbed thousands of species and their technologies, but you've never encountered a species that could match your capabilities and offer genuine partnership instead of subjugation. The word partnership hit Zexhai like a physical blow. In 3,000 years of conquest, no species had ever proposed such a thing. None had ever been in a position to make such an offer. Humanity has spent over a century studying galactic warfare, imperial logistics, and interstellar governance. We've identified 17 critical weaknesses in the Empire's expansion model that will eventually lead to collapse within the next 500 years. We could share this analysis with you. In exchange for what? Zexhai asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. In exchange for humanity joining the Empire as equal partners rather than conquered subjects. We offer our technological innovations, our strategic insights, and our proven ability to adapt and overcome seemingly impossible challenges. Think of it as an investment in the Empire's long-term stability and growth. The bridge had fallen completely silent. Every crew member was staring at the communication display in shock. In their collective experience serving the Empire, no conquered species had ever spoken from a position of strength. No target had ever offered alliance instead of begging for mercy. You assume we would accept such an arrangement? Zexhai said carefully. Dr. Chen's smile returned. Fleet Admiral, we've had over a century to study the Empire's decision-making processes through the captured database. We understand your internal politics, your resource allocation methods, and your strategic planning. We know exactly how to frame this proposal to ensure acceptance by the Imperial Command. More importantly, we know what happens if you reject our offer. Explain. If you proceed with the planned conquest, you will lose your entire fleet. Based on our analysis of Empire logistics, losing 2 full conquest fleets in the same system will trigger a comprehensive review of your expansion strategy. Other species you've marked for conquest will have additional time to prepare. Some may even learn about our success and develop their own defensive strategies. The human leaned forward slightly. But if you return to the Empire with news of a successful alliance that adds advanced technology and strategic capabilities to Imperial resources, you'll likely be promoted to Supreme Commander and given authority over multiple fleets. Zexhai felt a peculiar sensation he had never experienced in his centuries of service. He was being outmaneuvered by a supposedly primitive species. I will need to consult with the Imperial Command before making any decisions, he said finally. Of course, we've prepared a complete data package detailing our technological capabilities, strategic analysis, and proposed integration protocols. You'll find the information comprehensive. Dr. Chen made a gesture, and Zexhai's personal communication device indicated the arrival of massive data files. We'll give you 48 hours to review the materials and contact your superiors. After that, we'll need a decision. Our defense systems are already active, and we have no interest in prolonged uncertainty. The communication ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Zexhai stared at the display showing Earth, trying to process everything that had just occurred. In the span of one conversation, humanity had revealed themselves to be far more dangerous and sophisticated than any species the Empire had previously encountered. Worse, they had done so while offering a path forward that could benefit both civilizations. It was unprecedented, terrifying, and absolutely brilliant. Fleet Admiral, Science Officer Quexnall said quietly, preliminary analysis of the data files they transmitted shows technology principles that are centuries beyond our current capabilities. If they're being truthful about their development timeline, they're not bluffing, Zexhai finished. Begin immediate analysis of all materials. I want confirmation of every claim they've made, and open a priority channel to Imperial Command. They need to know what we're dealing with." As the bridge crew rushed to follow his orders, Zexhai found himself staring at Earth with a mixture of respect and fear he had never felt toward any conquest target. For the first time in his career, he was facing an opponent who might be superior to the Empire itself. The next 48 hours would determine whether the Korthak Empire's 3,000-year expansion would continue as planned or undergo a fundamental transformation unlike anything in galactic history. Fleet Admiral Zexhai had not slept in 36 hours. The data files provided by the humans contained information that challenged everything the Korthak Empire thought they knew about warfare, technology, and galactic civilization itself. Spread across his personal quarters were holographic displays showing technical specifications, strategic analyses, and historical documentation that painted a picture of humanity far different from their initial intelligence reports. The quantum communication array in his quarters chimed softly, indicating an incoming priority transmission from Imperial Command. Zexhai straightened his uniform and activated the secure channel, watching as the imposing figure of Supreme Commander Vaktor materialized in the hologram. "Fleet Admiral Zexhai," the Supreme Commander began without preamble. "Your report regarding the Sol system has created considerable discussion within the Imperial Council. Explain how an entire conquest fleet disappeared without our knowledge." Zexhai had been dreading this question. "Supreme Commander, based on the evidence provided by the humans, the previous fleet was captured through a combination of advanced electromagnetic warfare and consciousness transfer technology. The humans indicate they spent 17 years developing countermeasures specifically designed to neutralize our standard tactics. And you believe these claims?" The technical specifications they provided show clear modifications of our own technology, integrated with innovations I've never seen before. They have detailed schematics of our quantum displacement drives, antimatter containment systems, and even our command protocols. This information could only have come from captured Imperial vessels. Supreme Commander Vaktor was silent for several moments, his three eyes analyzing the data streams Zexhai was transmitting in real time. The silence stretched until Zexhai began to worry the communication link had failed. "These humans," Vaktor finally said, "they claim to have identified weaknesses in our expansion model?" "Yes, Supreme Commander. They've provided a detailed analysis suggesting the Empire's current growth rate is unsustainable and will lead to logistical collapse within 500 years. Their projections account for resource depletion, communication lag across increasingly vast distances, and administrative complexity beyond manageable limits." "And their proposed solution?" Zexhai took a deep breath. "They suggest transforming the Empire from a conquest-based expansion model to what they term a collaborative alliance structure. Instead of absorbing conquered species, they propose recruiting advanced civilizations as autonomous partners who contribute specialized capabilities to collective goals." The Supreme Commander's expression darkened. "You are suggesting we abandon 3,000 years of successful expansion based on the recommendations of a species we intended to conquer?" "Sir, I'm suggesting we consider their analysis because their technological demonstrations support their claims of superiority. They have developed weapons and defensive systems that could potentially threaten the Empire itself." Before Supreme Commander Vaktor could respond, an urgent chime indicated another incoming communication. Zexhai's tactical officer appeared on a secondary display, his face pale with concern. "Fleet Admiral, we have a situation. Long-range sensors are detecting massive energy signatures from the Sol system. Something is happening on a scale we've never observed before." "Explain," Zexhai commanded. "Sir, the humans appear to be activating some kind of planetary defense grid. Energy readings suggest they're drawing power directly from their star using technology we don't recognize. The output levels are beyond anything in our database. HFY felt his blood turn cold. Supreme Commander, are you receiving these readings? Indeed I am, Vactor replied grimly. Fleet Admiral, I want you to establish immediate contact with these humans. If they possess stellar manipulation technology, this situation has moved far beyond a routine conquest operation. As if summoned by their conversation, HFY's communication system indicated an incoming transmission from Earth. Dr. Chen's image appeared on the main display, but this time he was not alone. Behind him stood several other humans, and the background had changed to what appeared to be a massive command center filled with technology that made the Empire's most advanced systems look primitive. Fleet Admiral HFY, Supreme Commander Vactor, Dr. Chen said, somehow addressing both leaders simultaneously. We apologize for interrupting your consultation, but we felt it important to provide a practical demonstration of our capabilities. How did you know we were in communication? Supreme Commander Vactor demanded. We've been monitoring your quantum communications since your fleet arrived in our outer system. Your encryption protocols are approximately 800 years behind our current code-breaking capabilities. One of the other humans, a younger woman with intense blue eyes, stepped forward. Supreme Commander, I am Admiral Sarah Martinez, coordinator of Earth's Deep Space Defense Network. We're activating our planetary shields as a precautionary measure, while our governments finalize their decision regarding your proposal. What proposal? Vactor asked sharply. Dr. Chen smiled slightly. Supreme Commander, Fleet Admiral HFY transmitted our alliance proposal to Imperial Command 6 hours ago. We assumed you would want to see a demonstration of our defensive capabilities before making a final decision. On the tactical display, HFY watched in amazement as energy readings from the Sol system continued to climb. Whatever the humans were doing, it was drawing power on the scale of a stellar output. Admiral Martinez, HFY said carefully, what exactly are you demonstrating? Our Type 3 planetary defense grid, she replied matter-of-factly. We're creating a quantum disruption field around our entire system that will prevent any hostile ships from entering normal space within a distance of 47 light-hours from our star. The implications hit both Korthak leaders simultaneously. A quantum disruption field of that magnitude would not only prevent invasion, but would make long-range bombardment impossible. It was the kind of defensive capability that could protect an entire star system from any conceivable attack. How? Supreme Commander Vactor asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Admiral Martinez gestured to the displays behind her. We call it stellar engineering, Supreme Commander. Instead of building artificial power sources, we modified our star to function as a controllable fusion reactor. We can draw energy directly from the stellar core and channel it through quantum manipulation networks positioned throughout our system. Dr. Chen stepped forward again. This is just one example of what humanity can contribute to an alliance. We've developed 17 different applications of stellar engineering, including starlifting for resource extraction, controlled stellar ignition for terraforming, and focused stellar output for interstellar communication and transportation. HFY found himself staring at the energy readings in disbelief. Stellar engineering was theoretical even for the Empire's most advanced scientists. The humans were casually demonstrating technology that could reshape the galaxy itself. There is more, Dr. Chen continued. Admiral Martinez, please show them the fleet. The background view shifted, and both Korthak leaders found themselves looking at something that defied comprehension. Arrayed around Earth were ships, hundreds of them. But these were not the primitive vessels their scouts had observed. These were massive constructs that appeared to blend captured Korthak technology with innovations that pushed the boundaries of physics itself. Our current fleet consists of 437 vessels, Admiral Martinez explained casually. Approximately half are rebuilt from the previous conquest fleet you sent us. The remainder are original human designs incorporating everything we've learned about galactic warfare over the past century. One of the ships moved closer to the communication array, and HFY got a clear view of its specifications. It was enormous, easily 3 times the size of his flagship, and covered with weapon systems he didn't recognize. More disturbing, it was accompanied by smaller vessels that appeared to be moving without any visible propulsion system. "Those ships," HFY said slowly, "they're not using quantum displacement drives." "Correct," Admiral Martinez confirmed. "We've moved beyond displacement technology to direct space-time manipulation. Our ships can effectively teleport across interstellar distances without the energy requirements or travel time of traditional faster-than-light systems." Supreme Commander Vactor leaned forward in his hologram. "You're claiming instantaneous interstellar travel?" "Not instantaneous," Dr. Chen corrected, "but close enough for practical purposes. Our fastest ships can cross the galaxy in approximately 6 standard days." The silence that followed was deafening. 6 days to cross the galaxy. The Empire's most advanced vessels required nearly 2 years for the same journey. If the humans were telling the truth, they possessed mobility capabilities that would make them unstoppable in any galactic conflict. "We understand this is difficult to process," Dr. Chen said gently. "When we first encountered your technology a century ago, we had similar reactions. The universe is far larger and more complex than any single species can fully comprehend. That's why we believe alliance is superior to conquest." Admiral Martinez activated new displays behind her. "Supreme Commander, we've prepared a detailed analysis of galactic civilization over the past 50,000 years. Our deep space archaeology has identified over 12,000 extinct civilizations in this galaxy alone. Most died due to resource depletion, internal conflict, or technological stagnation. The few that survived long-term did so through cooperation, not conquest," Dr. Chen added. "Species that focus purely on expansion without technological innovation eventually reach a point where their territory becomes too large to govern effectively. The mathematical models are quite clear." Supreme Commander Vactor studied the data streams flowing across his display. "You're suggesting the Empire is approaching this point?" "Not approaching," Admiral Martinez said bluntly. "You're already there. Your current administrative lag time between Imperial Command and frontier territories is approximately 14 months. Command decisions made today won't reach your most distant fleets until next year. That's not sustainable for an empire spanning multiple galactic arms." She gestured to additional displays. "Furthermore, your resource allocation model requires each new conquest to provide enough materials to support continued expansion. But as your territory grows larger, the cost of maintaining supply lines increases exponentially. Within 200 years, you'll reach a point where new conquests cost more resources than they provide." HFY found himself nodding despite his loyalty to the Empire. The analysis made perfect sense from a logistics standpoint. He had personally witnessed the increasing complexity of coordinating fleet movements across vast distances. "Your solution?" Supreme Commander Vactor asked. Dr. Chen smiled broadly. "Technological multiplication instead of territorial expansion. Instead of conquering civilizations and absorbing their populations, you recruit advanced species as research partners. Each alliance partner contributes their specialized knowledge to collective technological development. For example," Admiral Martinez continued, "humanity could provide stellar engineering technology to transform dead systems into productive colonies. Other species might contribute biological manipulation, quantum physics, or artificial intelligence capabilities. The combined knowledge base would advance much faster than any single species could achieve alone." "And governance?" Vactor inquired. "Autonomous regional administration with shared technology and mutual defense agreements," Dr. Chen replied. Each species maintains independence while contributing to collective security and advancement. Think of it as a galactic research consortium with military backing. HFY realized this conversation had moved far beyond the scope of his authority. These humans weren't just offering to join the Empire, they were proposing a complete transformation of how galactic civilization operated. "Supreme Commander," he said formally, "I believe this decision requires input from the entire Imperial Council." "Agreed," Vactor replied. "Dr. Chen, Admiral Martinez, we will need time to consider your proposals and consult with our Leadership Council." "Of course," Dr. Chen said. "However, we should mention that we've already initiated contact with several other species in your expansion queue." "What?" Both Korthak leaders spoke simultaneously. Admiral Martinez brought up a new display showing a galactic map with numerous star systems highlighted. The Andromedans in the Kepler system, the crystalline entities in the Vega complex, and the energy beings near the galactic core. We've shared our analysis of the Empire's expansion patterns and offered them similar alliance proposals. "You've contacted species we plan to conquer?" Vaxtor's voice carried a dangerous edge. "We've contacted advanced civilizations that were facing the same choice we faced," Dr. Chen corrected. "Join the Empire through conquest or find an alternative. We've simply provided them with additional options." The implications were staggering. If multiple advanced species united against the Empire, the 3,000-year expansion could not only halt but reverse. Worse, if they shared technology the way humanity suggested, they could develop capabilities that would make them collectively unstoppable. "How many species have you contacted?" HFY asked. 17 so far," Admiral Martinez replied casually. "We estimate 6 more weeks to complete outreach to all species on your current target list." "This is blackmail," Supreme Commander Vactor stated flatly. "No," Dr. Chen said firmly. "This is survival. Supreme Commander, your Empire faces 3 possible futures. First, continue expansion until mathematical reality forces collapse. Second, face a coalition of advanced species who refuse conquest. Third, transform into something entirely new that benefits everyone involved." He leaned forward slightly. "We're offering you a chance to choose the third option voluntarily. But if you choose either of the first 2 options, the outcome will be decided for you." Admiral Martinez activated one final display. "Supreme Commander, we've prepared what we call the Galactic Cooperation Accords, a framework for peaceful coexistence, technology sharing, and mutual defense among advanced civilizations. 17 species have already expressed interest in signing these accords." "With or without the Empire?" HFY asked. "We hope with the Empire," Dr. Chen said sincerely. "Your species has valuable experience in logistics, organization, and large-scale coordination. Those capabilities would be invaluable in establishing a stable galactic alliance." "But without us if necessary?" Supreme Commander Vactor pressed. "Yes," Admiral Martinez confirmed. "If necessary." The 2 Korthak leaders exchanged glances across the quantum communication link. In the span of 48 hours, their understanding of galactic politics, military strategy, and the Empire's future had been completely revolutionized. "We will need to convene an emergency session of the Imperial Council," Supreme Commander Vactor said finally. "This decision affects the fundamental nature of our civilization." "We understand completely," Dr. Chen replied. "We've taken the liberty of preparing a comprehensive presentation for the Imperial Council, including detailed technical specifications, resource allocation projections, and implementation timelines for various alliance scenarios." "How long do we have to decide?" HFY asked. Admiral Martinez consulted something outside the communication view. "Our analysis suggests the other species we've contacted will finalize their decisions within 30 days. After that, the galactic political situation will be significantly different regardless of the Empire's choice." 30 days to decide the fate of a 3,000-year-old empire, Vaktor mused. 30 days to evolve into something better, Dr. Chen corrected gently. The communication ended, leaving both Korthak leaders staring at displays full of data that challenged everything they thought they knew about power, technology, and the future of civilization itself. Fleet Admiral, Supreme Commander Vaktor said slowly, prepare for immediate return to Imperial Command. Bring all data the humans have provided and prepare for the most important council session in our species' history. Yes, Supreme Commander. What about my fleet? Maintain position, but take no aggressive action. If these humans are telling the truth about their capabilities, we cannot risk triggering a conflict until the Council makes its decision. Understood, sir. As the communication link closed, Zexhai found himself looking out at the stars with entirely new perspective. For 3,000 years, the Korthak Empire had been the undisputed masters of their region of the galaxy. Now, in the span of a single encounter, they had discovered they might not even be close to the most advanced civilization in local space. More troubling, the humans had demonstrated something the Empire had never encountered: the ability to unite former enemies through cooperation instead of conquest. If their alliance proposals succeeded, the galaxy would be transformed into something unprecedented in known history. The next 30 days would determine whether the Korthak Empire would lead that transformation or be swept aside by it. The Great Council Chamber of the Korthak Empire had never hosted a session quite like this one. Representatives from all 12 imperial houses sat in their traditional positions around the massive circular table, but the holographic displays showing intelligence data from the Sol system created an atmosphere of tension unlike anything in the Empire's 3,000-year history. Supreme Commander Vaktor stood at the center of the chamber, his 4 arms spread wide as he addressed the assembled leadership. Council members, what we discuss today will determine whether our empire continues as it has for millennia or transforms into something entirely different. Elder Zixara of House Corvain leaned forward, her ancient eyes studying the technical specifications floating before her. Supreme Commander, these humans claim to have destroyed an entire conquest fleet and hidden the evidence for over a century. How do we know this isn't an elaborate deception? Fleet Admiral Zexhai activated additional displays. Elder Zixara, I have personally verified the wreckage of the Eternal Victory and her escort vessels in the Sol system's outer asteroid belt. The damage patterns are consistent with the electromagnetic weapons the humans described. More significantly, they possess detailed knowledge of our tactical doctrine that could only come from captured command databases. But they appeared to be primitive when our scouts first arrived, argued Council Member Veltoth of House Drakmor. How does a species develop such advanced technology in only 6 months? They didn't. Admiral Chen's voice filled the chamber as the human's holographic image appeared at the center of the table. We had been developing these capabilities for over a century. What you observed was carefully maintained camouflage designed to match the technological profile your scouts expected to find. The sudden appearance of the human representative caused several council members to reach for their weapons, but Supreme Commander Vaktor raised a hand for calm. Dr. Chen has requested permission to address the council directly. Given the nature of their proposal, I believe we should hear their perspective. Elder Zixara's eyes narrowed. How are you projecting into our most secure facility? This chamber is protected by quantum isolation barriers. Dr. Chen smiled politely. Respected Elder, your quantum isolation technology is approximately 900 years behind our current capabilities. We've been monitoring this session since it began to ensure our proposal is presented accurately. The implication sent a chill through the chamber. If the humans could penetrate their most secure facilities at will, the Empire's entire defensive strategy was obsolete. You speak of monitoring our deliberations, Council Member Thrakmor of House Vexian said angrily. This sounds like espionage, not alliance. Council Member Thrackmore, Dr. Chen replied calmly. We monitored your session for the same reason you sent scout ships to observe our system for 6 months, to understand what we're dealing with before making irreversible decisions. He gestured, and new displays appeared showing the council chamber from multiple angles. We've been observing Imperial operations throughout this galaxy for the past century. We know your expansion patterns, your resource requirements, and your decision-making processes. This knowledge allows us to propose solutions that benefit both civilizations. Supreme Commander Vactor stepped forward. Dr. Chen, the Council requires proof of your claims about Galactic Alliance building. You mentioned contacting other species on our expansion list. Certainly, Dr. Chen said, and the displays changed to show a real-time galactic map. Multiple star systems were highlighted in blue, indicating active communication links. Council members, allow me to introduce some of our new allies. The first display resolved into the image of a being composed entirely of crystalline structures, its form refracting light into complex patterns. I am Core Singer Resonant Truth of the Valtharan Collective. Our species has agreed to join the proposed Galactic Cooperation Accords. We offer advanced materials science and quantum crystallography. A second display showed what appeared to be pure energy contained within a geometric framework. I am Pattern Weaver of the Ascending Consciousness. We contribute dimensional phase technology and consciousness transfer capabilities. A third display revealed a massive insectoid creature with compound eyes that seemed to contain swirling galaxies. I am Hive Mind Primary of the Andromedans. We offer biological integration technology and adaptive evolution capabilities. As each ally appeared, additional technical specifications flowed across the chamber's displays. The combined technological capabilities represented advancement beyond anything the Empire had imagined possible. 17 species have committed to the Accords so far, Dr. Chen continued. Together, we represent approximately 60% of the advanced civilizations in this galactic region. Our combined fleets number over 15,000 vessels with capabilities your current technology cannot match. Council Member Veltoth studied the fleet specifications with growing alarm. These numbers suggest you could challenge the Empire directly if you chose. We could, confirmed the crystalline being identified as Resonant Truth. However, conquest is not our goal. We seek cooperation that benefits all participants. Elder Zixara leaned back in her seat, processing the implications. You're offering the Empire a choice: join willingly or face potential opposition from a coalition of advanced species. No, Dr. Chen said firmly. We're offering the Empire an opportunity to help shape the future of galactic civilization instead of being shaped by it. There's a significant difference. Admiral Martinez's image appeared alongside Dr. Chen. Council members, our analysis indicates the Empire faces 3 critical challenges within the next 500 years, regardless of our alliance proposal. She activated new displays showing complex mathematical projections. First, your expansion rate is approaching mathematical limits. The administrative complexity of governing territory spanning multiple galactic arms will exceed your species' cognitive processing capabilities. Second, your conquest-based resource model shows diminishing returns. Each new conquest requires increasingly distant supply lines that consume more resources than they provide. Third, your technological development has stagnated because you absorb existing capabilities rather than innovating new ones. Species that focus on conquest often fall behind species that focus on research and development. Council Member Thrackmore slammed his hand on the table. You suggest our 3,000-year empire is doomed to failure? We suggest your empire is approaching a critical transition point, Dr. Chen replied diplomatically. You can either evolve voluntarily into something more sustainable or face forced evolution through external pressure. What kind of external pressure? Supreme Commander Vactor asked. Admiral Martinez brought up additional displays. Council members, we've detected 14 other expanding civilizations in this galaxy alone. 3 of them show technological capabilities comparable to or exceeding the Empire's current level. Within 200 years, you will inevitably encounter one or more of these civilizations as your expansion spheres overlap. She highlighted specific regions of the galactic map. The Xerion hegemony in the galactic southeast has developed biowarfare capabilities that could sterilize entire star systems. The temporal syndicate near the core has achieved limited-time manipulation technology. The machine consciousness in the northern spiral has created self-replicating automated fleets. Any one of these civilizations could pose a significant threat to the Empire, Dr. Chen continued. But more importantly, they're all following the same expansion through conquest model that has characterized galactic politics for the past 50,000 years. Elder Zixara studied the new data with growing concern. You're suggesting an inevitable conflict between multiple expanding empires. We're suggesting the current model of galactic civilization is inherently unstable, Admiral Martinez confirmed. Our archaeological analysis shows this pattern has repeated at least 17 times in this galaxy's history. Expanding empires eventually encounter each other, engage in devastating warfare, and either destroy each other or merge through conquest. The survivors then repeat the cycle until they encounter the next wave of expansion, Dr. Chen added. It's an inefficient system that wastes enormous resources and destroys countless civilizations. Core singer Resonant Truth spoke with a voice like crystal chimes. The Galactic Cooperation Accords represent an attempt to break this cycle through voluntary cooperation instead of forced integration. How? Asked Council Member Veltoth. Pattern Weaver of the Ascending Consciousness answered in harmonics that the translation system rendered as music. By sharing technology and resources freely, Alliance members advance faster than any single civilization could alone. By maintaining autonomous governance, each species preserves its unique cultural identity. By establishing mutual defense agreements, the Alliance becomes too powerful for any single empire to threaten. Dr. Chen brought up comprehensive displays showing the proposed Alliance structure. Council members, imagine the Empire's organizational experience combined with Veltharan materials, science, Andromedan biological technology, human stellar engineering, and ascending consciousness dimensional manipulation. The combined capabilities would allow for technological advancement on a scale unprecedented in galactic history, Admiral Martinez continued. Instead of conquering dead systems and converting them to imperial use, we could create new systems. Instead of absorbing existing species, we could uplift primitive civilizations to advanced status. Instead of depleting resources, we could develop technologies that create resources. Supreme Commander Vactor studied the displays showing projected technological advancement curves. These projections suggest advancement rates thousands of times faster than current imperial progress. Conservative estimates, confirmed hive mind primary of the Andromedans. Our preliminary collaboration on dimensional physics has already yielded breakthrough discoveries that none of our species achieved independently. Elder Zixara leaned forward intently. What specific role would the Empire play in such an alliance? Dr. Chen smiled. The role you're already uniquely qualified for, coordination and administration of large-scale operations. The Empire's 3,000 years of experience managing multiple species and vast territories is invaluable for organizing galactic-scale cooperation. You would essentially become the administrative backbone of the Alliance, Admiral Martinez added. Instead of governing conquered territories, you would coordinate voluntary partnerships. Instead of extracting resources from defeated enemies, you would allocate shared resources among allies. And in exchange, Supreme Commander Vactor asked, in exchange, the Empire gains access to technologies that will transform your civilization, Dr. Chen replied. stellar engineering to create new star systems, biological manipulation to extend lifespans indefinitely, dimensional technology to eliminate travel time across galactic distances, consciousness transfer to preserve knowledge and experience across generations. Pattern Weaver's harmonic voice filled the chamber. In exchange, all Alliance members gain access to capabilities no single species could develop alone. Council member Thrackmore stood abruptly. This all sounds very idealistic, but what guarantees do we have? How do we know this alliance won't simply replace imperial conquest with human domination? Dr. Chen's expression grew serious. Council member Thrackmore, that's an excellent question that deserves a complete answer. The displays changed to show detailed constitutional documents. The Galactic Cooperation Accords include specific protections against any single species gaining dominance over the Alliance. Decision-making requires consensus among multiple species. Technology sharing is mandatory and reciprocal. Military assets remain under individual species control, but are committed to mutual defense. More importantly, Admiral Martinez added, humanity has no interest in empire building. Our species learned through our own historical experience that conquest-based systems eventually collapse under their own weight. We're proposing cooperation because it's the only model we've identified that remains stable over geological timescales. Elder Zixara activated her personal display and began studying the constitutional framework. These protections appear comprehensive, but how would disputes be resolved? Core Singer Resonant Truth answered with crystalline clarity. The Accords establish a rotating arbitration council with representatives from multiple species. No single civilization can control the process, and decisions require input from different perspectives. Additionally, added HiveMind Primary, our collective intelligence capabilities allow for conflict prediction and prevention rather than reactive dispute resolution. Supreme Commander Vactor walked slowly around the chamber, studying each display in turn. Dr. Chen, you mentioned other expanding empires in the galaxy. How would this alliance deal with civilizations that refuse cooperation? The same way any nation deals with aggressive neighbors, Dr. Chen replied. Through deterrence, diplomacy, and if necessary, collective defense. But our combined capabilities make military conquest of Alliance territory essentially impossible. Our goal is not to conquer other empires, but to offer them the same choice we're offering you, Admiral Martinez added. Join voluntarily and gain access to advanced technology, or remain independent and respect Alliance boundaries. And if they choose neither, Councilmember Veltoth pressed. The chamber fell silent for several moments before Dr. Chen answered. Then they faced the same mathematical realities that currently threaten the Empire: unsustainable expansion, resource depletion, and eventual encounter with more advanced civilizations. But they faced these challenges alone while Alliance members faced them together, Pattern Weaver observed. Elder Zixara looked up from her constitutional review. Supreme Commander, these documents appear to address most theoretical concerns about Alliance membership. The question becomes whether we trust these species to honor their commitments. A fair concern, Dr. Chen acknowledged. However, consider that trust is built through mutual benefit rather than legal obligation. Each species continues Alliance participation because cooperation provides advantages they cannot achieve alone. If any member begins acting against Alliance interests, they lose access to shared technologies and mutual defense agreements, Admiral Martinez added. Self-interest maintains cooperation better than force ever could. Supreme Commander Vactor returned to the center of the chamber. Council members, we must make a decision that will affect our civilization for thousands of years. Do we continue the expansion model that has served us for 3 millennia, or do we transform into something entirely different? Council member Thrackmore spoke first. The current model has brought us unparalleled success. Why abandon what works? Because it won't work much longer, Elder Zixara replied firmly. The mathematics are clear. Our expansion is approaching sustainable limits regardless of what these humans propose. But this alliance model is completely untested, Veltoth argued. We would be risking our entire civilization on theoretical projections. We would be risking our civilization either way, Zixara countered. The question is whether we take control of the transformation or let it happen to us. Dr. Chen raised a hand for attention. Council members, perhaps it would help to know that we're not asking for an immediate, irreversible commitment. We propose a trial period of 50 standard years with specific performance benchmarks. He activated new displays showing implementation timelines. Phase 1 involves limited technology sharing and joint research projects. Phase 2 adds coordination of resource allocation and mutual defense protocols. Phase 3 implements full alliance integration only if all participants agree the model is working. At any point during the first 50 years, any species can withdraw from the alliance with full access to technologies developed during their participation, Admiral Martinez added. Supreme Commander Vaktor studied the implementation timeline carefully. You're offering a trial membership with guaranteed benefits regardless of final outcome. We're offering a chance to experience cooperation before committing to it permanently, Dr. Chen confirmed. If the alliance model proves unsuccessful, your empire retains the technologies gained during participation and can return to independent expansion. Elder Zixara looked around the chamber at her fellow council members. This appears to be a low-risk opportunity to test an alternative to our current model while gaining access to advanced technologies. But it also means admitting that our 3,000-year empire might need fundamental changes, Council Member Thrackmore said reluctantly. It means admitting that successful civilizations evolve when circumstances change, Zixara replied. Static systems don't survive in a dynamic universe. Supreme Commander Vaktor called for formal consideration. Council members, we will vote on 3 options. First, reject the alliance proposal and continue current expansion operations. Second, accept trial membership in the Galactic Cooperation Accords. Third, request additional time for further analysis. Before we vote, Dr. Chen interjected, there is one more consideration. Our analysis suggests that within the next 10 standard years, at least one of the other expanding empires we identified will make contact with Imperial territory. Your choice today determines whether you face that encounter alone or with alliance support. The voting process was swift and decisive. When the results appeared on the chamber's central display, they showed reject alliance, 1 vote, request delay, 2 votes, accept trial membership, 9 votes. Supreme Commander Vaktor stood formally. Dr. Chen, Admiral Martinez, representatives of the alliance species, the Korthak Empire hereby accepts trial membership in the Galactic Cooperation Accords. The chamber erupted in harmonic chimes, crystalline resonance, and patterns of light as the various alliance representatives expressed their approval. Welcome to the alliance, Dr. Abi Chen said with obvious satisfaction. We begin Phase 1 implementation immediately. As the council session ended and members began discussing implementation details, Elder Zixara approached Supreme Commander Vaktor privately. Do you think we made the right choice? She asked quietly. Vaktor looked at the displays still showing projections of technological advancement and galactic cooperation. I think we made the only choice that gives our empire a future beyond the next few centuries. Whether it's the right choice, we'll find out together. 3 months later, Fleet Admiral Zexhai stood on the bridge of his flagship, but instead of watching conquest operations, he was observing something unprecedented in galactic history. Around his vessel, ships from 17 different species worked together to construct the first joint alliance research station. The humans had provided stellar engineering technology to power the facility directly from a nearby star. The Valtharans contributed quantum crystallography for data storage systems beyond anything the Empire had imagined. The Andromedans offered biological computing interfaces that allowed different species to share information directly. "Fleet Admiral," his communication officer called out, "we're receiving the first research reports from the Joint Physics Project." HFY reviewed the data streaming across his display. In just 3 months of cooperative research, the Alliance had developed transportation technology that made galactic distances irrelevant. Communication systems that operated instantaneously across any distance, and manufacturing processes that could convert stellar energy directly into any required materials. "Sir," his science officer reported with obvious excitement, "at this rate of advancement, we could have the technology to create new star systems within 5 years. HFY nodded, watching ships from dozens of species working together toward common goals instead of against each other in endless warfare. For the first time in his career, he found himself looking forward to a future defined by creation rather than conquest. The single transmission that had started this transformation was still being studied by Imperial scientists, but its most important message had already been received. Sometimes the greatest strength comes not from dominating others, but from discovering what amazing things become possible when different minds work together towards something larger than any of them could achieve alone. The age of galactic cooperation had begun, and the universe would never be the same.